Today, I'm talking about the joy of journaling. It's the 2 year anniversary of me journaling every day, and I wanted to take this moment to reflect on how did I get here? Why do I keep doing it? What's the benefits? So, it's called the joy of journaling, but it's really my own reflections on journaling. To give you a quick overview of what I'm talking about, it's kind of three pieces. The first piece is kind of unpacking how do I journal and what does that look like. And the reason I'm talking about that is that journaling for a long time felt like this very complicated concept that I didn't really know how to do or what it meant or even how to start. So the first part is just what does it actually mean or how did I get into journaling? The second piece is how did I make it a habit? So, yeah, cracking that nut. And the third piece is the benefits or the magic that it's brought into life now that I've done it for 2 years. So the first question is how? How to journal? I mean, I remember wanting to be that person that has a morning practice, that does something that's thoughtful and reflective, like yoga or meditation. And when I think about journaling, it seemed like this very, that it needs to be these deep, meaningful thoughts that had been thought through and were super logical and that it was so amazing. That's what I thought journaling had to be. And because I put it on this pedestal, it was very inaccessible and really hard to do. So the concept of journaling that really resonated was introduced by this beautiful book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way. I highly recommend this book. I think it's the cheapest form of therapy you can buy. In South Africa, it's about 350 Rand. And for that, you can get months and months of basically, I mean, depending on how many times you do it, but it's like 3 months of free therapy for if you do the program for 12 weeks. Or not free, it costs you whatever amount of money you spend, but it's a lot cheaper than going to therapy. Anyway, moving on from that side note. In the beginning of this book, she introduces this concept called the morning pages, which is really the concept that I used to start the journaling. And really, the idea is that you do freehand writing, so you write with your actual pen and paper, not typing, and you write 3 pages. And those 3 pages are basically stream of consciousness writing. So whatever you're thinking, that's what you write down. If you have a song stuck in your head, you write down the lyrics of that song. If you think, oh my God, this morning sucks, I don't want to be here, I feel like shit, that's what you write down. It doesn't really matter what you write down. And I think the part that helped me is that it doesn't have to be cohesive. It's just about getting words on a page. So it can be as chaotic as unstructured. You can change your stream of, the thing that you're writing about from one sentence to the next. That doesn't really matter. That's really not the point. But the point is to just keep writing 3 pages. And that's what she calls the morning pages. And the idea is that you write them and then you put them away. So they're not really, the purpose is not to read them, the purpose is just to write them. So it's not this deep reflective thing that you have to come back to, it's just the practice of writing it. For me, this kind of taking away all the rules and all the kind of it has to make sense and it has to be logical and it has to be all these profound thoughts, taking away all of those expectations of myself helped me actually just be able to write. And yeah, maybe that'll help you too. Once again, highly recommend the Artist Way. Highly recommend. The next question was, as I said in the beginning, I really wanted to build this healthy habit for years and years and years. I remember being like 18 and wanting to do this, and I just couldn't get it right. And with journaling, it was interesting because it took me a couple of attempts. It took me like 4 or 5 attempts before I managed to get the habit to stick. So the next piece I wanted to really talk about was how did I build a habit? So many years ago, I'd read that really amazing book by Charles Duhigg about how habits work. And just as a quick refresher, the habits have this kind of cycle. So first you have a cue, so something that makes you be like, oh, let me go do that thing. Then you have the actual activity, that is the habit, like playing a game or spending time on YouTube. And then the reward is the kick of dopamine or the feel good feeling after you've done exercise that you get from doing the habits. And then it's reinforcing because the reward will get you to restart the cue, which will get you to do the activity. And then it goes over and over again. And obviously, in this case, the activity that I was trying to build was to journal every morning. That was the attempt. So I knew about this concept, and theoretically, knowing about this concept should make it really easy to build habits. That was the theory. In practice, it was a bit harder, for me at least. So, kind of, I then ended up journaling about journaling so that I could figure out how to make it a habit. So the first thing was around cues. So there, I mean, I would add that lowering the barrier of entry was really important. So having a specific place in the house where I could go to every time, and where my pen and my booklet were open and ready for me all the time really helped. So just reducing the barrier of entry. And then in this case, the cue is just getting out of bed. So kind of getting out of bed and then going to that specific spot, the writing spot, to write. So I'd kind of not like locked that down. So that was pretty easy. I knew what the habit was that I wanted to build. I wanted to do these morning pages and write for 3 pages. And then eventually, after journaling, I was like, oh, the thing that's missing is the reward. I'm not kind of getting any sense of satisfaction from this. So I'm not getting a reward. So I needed to figure out some sort of reward that would keep me going on the journey. And the slightly absurd but very fun reward I created for myself was to give myself a sticker. So every night, if I journaled that morning, I would give myself a sticker to say, well done, you. You looked after yourself. You did a good, healthy habit. Here's a sticker. Go, you. I mean, different rewards work for different people. The ridiculous sticker thing, for some reason, spoke to an inner child part of me. It really resonated. It really worked. And what was really interesting is that, yeah, so I started the sticker thing, and the sticker thing was the thing that cracked the nut for me. The stickers every night. So I did stickers every night. I think I did it for about 3 months. And I actually had like stickers that said well done and thank you. Thank you was actually the sticker. The sticker said thank you. I was kind of thanking myself for doing something that was good for me. I did thank you stickers for 3 months. And then it was really interesting. So I did that for 3 months. And after 3 months, the benefits of the journaling were so clear that I didn't need the reward of the sticker anymore. The reward was kind of the journaling itself because of the clarity it's created in my own mind. So kind of that's the magic that unfolded. But I needed to get through those 3 months of giving myself stickers, of rewarding myself in that way before the habit ended up sticking. So that's kind of where we got to. Now, part three is what are the benefits? Now that I've done it for 2 years, I mean, the disclaimer would be this is my personal experience. This is what it did in my own life. And obviously, I think everyone that does this, they'll have different benefits. It depends on you as a person and what you need and kind of how your brain works, etc. So for me, there's a couple of themes. So the first theme is around my relationships. So if I plot a graph over the drama in my life over time, then I would say that once I started journaling, the graph kind of started to look like this. So there was still drama, but it definitely has trended downwards in the 2 years that I have been journaling. And I kind of attribute it to three different things that I picked up or that really help, that kind of come through journaling. So the first thing is that the journaling or the morning pages help me take a pause and to really reflect. So it's really easy to create drama when you just react to a situation and you have a knee jerk response and you're like, rah, have a fight with somebody. I was particularly good at that. So that created lots of drama. So having the ability to sit down and to think about the thing that's bothering you and take a pause really helped in just reducing the amount of incidences of drama that happened in the first place. The second piece is around kind of creating a little bit of structure in my own mind around what the actual problem was. You know, sometimes you're pissed off with somebody, or at least that's the case with me, and I don't actually know why. And it takes some time to get to the bottom of like, what is the thing I'm disappointed about? Why am I angry? What boundary has been crossed? What do I need from this person? And, you know, especially when I'm mad, all of these issues can become really, really big. And then it's like 20 different issues at the same time. And I don't even know how to start solving it or to start talking to the person. But by journaling, it's like, okay, maybe it's not 20 issues. Maybe it's like two really big things. But now I can articulate them and I know exactly what's actually bothering me. So I found the journaling kind of through the process. I must caveat though that I also was in therapy for quite a long time. So the combination of the two helped a lot because therapy gave me the types of questions to ask myself and kind of a different voice and a different perspective. So the two in combination, one has to say, helped a lot. But it reduced the noise. It reduced the noise so that the drama became, if it needed to happen, it wasn't as dramatic. It wasn't as hectic. And the third piece is that one of my favorite exercises actually became having an imaginary conversation with somebody. So I would pretend to be myself and the other person through writing. And I'd be like, okay, if I was to go say this thing to this person, how do I think they're going to respond? And I basically have the fight, quote unquote, but on paper. And that was well, I still do it. It's remarkably helpful. Sometimes, but just by doing that, I don't actually have to have the conversation. It's like I've resolved it without causing drama in somebody else's life. So that kind of idea of doing a play fight in your mind, but it's on a piece of paper, helped a huge amount to have less fights and therefore less drama. So I would say overall, from a relationship perspective, it has been a remarkable benefit in all of my relationships. So with my parents, with my brother, with my husband, with my friends, it's kind of yeah, it's improved my relationships kind of across the board. It's been a major benefit. And going back to that graph, it just reduced the drama I had over time, and just my relationships in general have become more fulfilling and more happy places than they were before. So that's wonderful. Go journaling. That's part one. The second part is relating to work. There are some benefits in journaling to in relation to work. So what I find interesting, I can't say this is all the time, but it's been really helpful sometimes to in the journaling, my kind of at the back of my mind, the things that are bothering me or that need to be prioritized kind of pop up. So sometimes at the end of the journaling, I'll have a to-do list of exactly what I actually need to get done that day. So it's really helpful in kind of prioritizing and really highlighting what needs to get done when and why. And to some degree, it's like a stress ball. Work, or at least in my experience, it has a lot to do with people and working with people and navigating that and having kind of an outlet where you can figure out the stuff that doesn't make sense or problem solve or work through something that's not working in at work for me was really helpful. So it's like a reflective space and a kind of quote unquote stress ball to help deal with work in a more productive way. So work benefited from the journaling habits. And then the last piece is really like behaviors and how has it impacted me and how has it changed my relationship with myself, which it has done in many positive ways. So the first thing I would say is that I have an exceptionally busy mind, and I wake up with quite a lot going on in my head. So going to the morning pages kind of takes the noise and it creates a lot of structure and a little bit more magic. So that when I then start the day, I start it on a better footing on average in general. I can obviously reverse the benefits. If I do something stupid, like spend some time on YouTube, then I've created muck in my head again. But if I do the journaling and then kind of start my day and get busy and do my emails or whatever, then the day comes gets off to a pretty good start. But yeah, it's a caveat on. I have to then continue leading a helpful day, not going down rabbit holes. The other part is, which is really interesting, is that it kind of like it's a real mirror for yourself. Like if you keep writing about the same thing and you keep complaining about the same thing or whatever, if you keep being like, oh, I need to paint this room or I need to go to the dentist or whatever the thing is, if you write the same thing every day for like a week or two or three, eventually you'll do something about it because it's like glaring in your face. Like I've said this for the fifth time, it's on my mind. Obviously, I need to do something about it. So it's quite a useful tool. So here I've recreated the habits to kind of show up what habits are not working for you and what you need to change, and kind of to help you be like, oh, that habit of spending hours on YouTube is not very useful. Let me replace it with some exercise or something like that. So sometimes it just helps creating that awareness of like, oh, I keep doing this thing. I don't think it's helpful. Let me do something else. Or just kind of the impetus to be like, oh, how do I build this new habit? What do I want to change in my life? So quite helpful from that perspective. Um, the other thing that was remarkable for me is that, and I only really realized this about a week ago, was the amount of trust it's built with myself, like internal trust, where it's like, I know that I'll show up for myself every morning, even if it's just for half an hour. But that trust of like, for a long time I couldn't sleep very well. Sleep was a real struggle. But now, like something might be bothering me the night before, and in my head I'm like, oh, I'll write about it tomorrow morning. And I have built such a level of trust with myself that I know that I will write about it in the morning, and then I can actually put it aside and I can go sleep. So kind of the habit of doing it all the time over and over again has built a level of trust with myself, which is really helpful and actually one of the biggest benefits because it's kind of improved the relationship I have with myself, and that obviously feeds into the relationships I have with the people around me. So overall, I think there's a bunch more benefits. One of the interesting things, feedback I've gotten from other people is that apparently I speak slower than I used to, which is a fun fact, but I can't speak for that myself. It's just something I've been told. And I'm sure there's there's different benefits for different people, but this was my lived experience reflecting on the last 2 years. My one thing I really want to add though is the role of time. Like it's really the role of time makes such a big difference. I had this graph, drama over time. And over time, you can see this graph is declining. But if you take like a week, in that week, maybe nothing shifts, maybe nothing changes, maybe you feel exactly the same, maybe all the drama stays the same. You really start seeing changes when you stick with it for, maybe it's a month. And then you can start seeing a little bit of changes. But as you stick with it for 3 months or for 6 months or for 2 years, that's when you can really start seeing this massive kind of trajectory change in your life. And that's something I find really difficult because in the moment, like if you're having a shit day or a shit moment or life feels overwhelming or you're like in an anxious spiral, like that happens to me, then, it feels like, oh, have I made any progress at all? But it's kind of like I need the element of time to look at like, oh, where was I 2 years ago? Like 2 years ago, I was struggling with sleep. Now, like if I don't sleep well, like one night a month, like that's a big deal. Where in the past was like once or twice a week. That's the time scale I need to have perspective to be like, oh, the way I'm functioning now is different to what it used to be. So time really matters. And I think what I found frustrating is that, I wanted results immediately. I wanted it all to be better now. And I wanted, all of it to happen really quickly. But kind of the benefits of this habit stack up over time. And it's not like a once off thing. It's not like journaling once and, I understood all of life and all of my issues and everything was better. It was doing it every day for 2 years. That's really made the massive difference. So I'm really keen to hear, have you built a healthy habit in the morning or in any way, shape, or form? What was it? What worked for you? Have you journaled? Have you tried it? Have you done the artist's way? How was that journey? Yeah, like what resonates, what doesn't? Be keen to hear if this is helpful. If it's not, what you'd like to hear more about. And thank you for sharing this moment of celebrating the anniversary of 2 years of journaling today. I hope you have a lovely evening. Cheerio.